Alrighty, so today we are going to quickly review the 9 games that happened yesterday because the game between LAFC versus the Red Bulls just finished, and I have roughly about 80 minutes before the next game between the Philadelphia Union and NYCFC kickoff. So during this time, I want to quickly do the review of yesterday's game before I watch the rematch of the Eastern Conference Final, which, like I said, is going to be between NYCFC and the Philadelphia Union. So let us actually begin with the first game, which is Seattle versus Sporting KC. And after a big victory that Sporting KC had against Nashville last week, well, this week, unfortunately, they can't follow up with another big surprise as the Sounders basically did what the Sounders do at home, which is get an easy 3 points in this game against a lowly Western Conference opposition. And it kind of helped the fact that they got the lead early in this game, as 8 minutes into this one, Will Bruin would score from Christian Rodon and Alex Rodon here. So the Rodon, or the Brodons, basically gets on the assist chart, not only on the assist but also on the secondary assist. And yeah, the Sounders were up 1-0 in this game. The last thing that Sporting KC wanted to do, when you're, of course, the underdog, you definitely don't want to give them an early go. And yeah, this feel like this game, even though we're only 8 minutes into this one, you just kind of had a feeling the Sounders are probably going to win this. Seattle, there was no doubt they dictate the play in the first 15 minutes, and Sporting KC is just on their heels most of the time. I mean, one of the thing about the Sporting KC team is that we know Peter Vermees loved to have this team to kind of control possession. That was not the case throughout the early part of this game. I mean, the Sounders were completely in control of this one. Though the first shot for Sporting KC came in the 20th minute as Shaarawy puts it wide from long range. Morris had a big opportunity in the 37th minutes and probably should have scored here, as he could not tap this one from close range. Though Morris would make amends of some of his miss early in this game, because he actually got on the score sheet later in this one. Then Melia was able to deny Rodon, who was through on goal there in the first minute of stoppage time, and we had to have time with the Sounders leading 1-0. Now in the second half, Duke did put it just wide from a tight angle, and this was a big opportunity. Like, this was one that, I thought from a tight angle like that, I don't think Camp Duke would actually put that one away, but it was close. Like, it just whistled past the right side of the post. And you also kind of would say that, if Sporting KC, if they want to look back one moment where they could have changed this game, that was the moment. Like, that was the opportunity for them to tie the game up and can really change the game up, because, after that miss, the Sounders were back in control. Morris had hit a one-hopper right to Melia. After a shaky start, the Sounders really regained superiority of the game. Russell did head a one-hopper straight to fly before, in the 70th minute, Nuhu blast one into the stands. And I'm pretty sure the 30,000 so inside Lumens Field were ready to see history, because I know a lot of Sounders fans have been waiting for that moment when Nuhu finally scored his first goal. And even though this wasn't really close on target, anytime when he shoot, there was a lot of anticipation from Sounders fans that their dream of finally seeing Nuhu score his first ever goal almost come true. But nevertheless, just 1 minute later, Jordan Morris would get on the score sheet as he scored from Nuhu and Ladero. So Nuhu didn't get on the score sheet, but at least he's on the assist chart, which also doesn't happen often. But yeah, that gives the Sounders a 2-0 lead. And then just 4 minutes later, Rodon would score from Morris and Chu to give Seattle a 3-0 lead. And that's Christian Rodon, by the way, that scored the goal there. Man, I really need to label both Christian and Alex Rodon in some of these reviews. I tend to do it whenever there's like brothers on the same team, but I tend to always don't do it with the Rodon brothers. But yeah, that gives the Sounders a 3-0 lead, and this game is done. I could have wrote that when that second goal was in, or I could even wrote that in the 8th minute when I thought, yeah, this game is pretty much done. And it just feels like it is, with the way that 3-0 out for the Sounders. They were in complete control of this game, and it could have been 4-0 if Melia didn't deny Morris from close range after another poor giveaway from Sporting KC. Like, there was just so much turnover from that SKC defense late in this one. And when you're playing against Seattle, yeah, those turnover most of the time will turn it into goals for the Sounders. And then on the same sequence, Melia was able to deny Sissoko and Montero from close range. So not only Sporting KC didn't do a good job in terms of protecting their ball in their own half and turning it over, but they also didn't clear their lines there. So that's a double whammy for how not to defend if you're Sporting KC, and they're very lucky to escape that without giving up a goal. But nevertheless, They did drop all 3 points in this one by letting 3 goals in this one and losing 3-0 against the Sounders. And the shots in this one, 15 shots compared to 9 that Sporting KC had, 8 shots on goal compared to 1 that Sporting KC had. Both teams had 3 shots off target, 5 shots that was blocked for the 4 that the Sounders had, and possession-wise, 51% possession compared to the 49% possession that the Sounders had in this game. And oh, by the way, I forgot to mention that Sporting KC did win 6-0 against Union Omaha. And, you know, anytime when Sporting KC does get a big win in the U.S. Open Cup, yeah, it's basically followed by a pretty much a flat performance, and kind of a performance where they had a huge letdown. And yeah, there was no doubt that this was a letdown, though it wasn't as bad as what happened last time, when I think last time they were able to move on in the U.S. Open Cup and they got absolutely blasted out of the stadium by the Portland Timbers, losing 7-2 in that one. So this one wasn't as bad as it is, but when you look at how the game goes, yeah, it was pretty bad, and it was pretty clear that Sporting KC, for the most part, didn't even show up in this one, which I think for Sporting KC fans, I mean, you know, it's disappointing, but obviously you know what they're really focusing right now, which is the U.S. Open Cup. And I gotta say, when you look at the U.S. Open Cup, you know, for Sporting KC, they have a big opportunity to make it to the final, because they get to play against the Sacramento Republic, though albeit that one is going to be a road game, and anytime we go on the road and face a second division team, and especially the Republic, knowing a team that knows how to upset MLS team, it's not going to be easy. But, you know, again, they're right now just solely focused on the U.S. Open Cup, and pretty much putting all their eggs in the U.S. Open Cup basket, because, you know, in terms of MLS play, I think it's clear to say that this team is not going to make it to the playoffs. But that being said, moving on, in the next match is DC and Nashville SC. So, you know, I talked about Nashville losing in the last game against Sporting KC and pretty much ended their 25-game unbeaten run at home. Well, in this game against DC, you can clearly see that they were still pissed off about that last game, and they make sure of it by going with their bread and butter in this game against DC United, which is they decided to counterattack the heck out of DC United. And for DC, you gotta have a lot of question of how in the world did they not realize that when you're basically playing against Nashville, yeah, you better make sure you don't commit too many men forward, and also let Nashville kind of run riot whenever they go through transition, because apparently Chad Ashton didn't get that memo, and this team got absolutely blitzed by Nashville every time Nashville go on the counterattack. In fact, just 6 minutes in, Nashville would take the lead, and it's Lovitz, the one that give Nashville a 1-0 lead. Again, not great defending from DC, as that one kind of came from a transitional play. Nashville, of course, they mentioned they were 5-3-0 when scoring the first goal on the road. So, you know, we know this is a team that when they score the first goal, it means that they're probably going to win or get a result of this game, because, you know, this is a team that is not known to blow leads, especially blow leads to drop all 3 points. Now, there was a shout for a penalty for DC that was not given in the 10th minute before Mukhtar hits it straight to Romo in the 16th minute. And again, I thought DC was just getting exposed on the break, because that last chance all came from the transitional play. Mukhtar then hits one into the side netting. It was all Nashville early in this one with the way that they attack. And, you know, not only DC was poor in terms of the transitional defense, but it was also poor on the attack. And, you know, some of that has to give credit to the fact that Nashville is probably the toughest team to break down, because, you know, we know how well they are organized in the defensive shape. But it also doesn't help the fact that DC was just playing very slow on the attack and just kind of playing sideways and kind of methodically throughout this one. Naha then blasts one over the bar, as that was really the first big opportunity for DC. But then in the first minute of stoppage time, Nashville would take a 2-0 lead, and it's Hani Mukhtar scoring from Dax McCarty to give Nashville a 2-0 lead. That was a great team goal from Nashville SC, and that, you know, we know that when their attack clicks, which, you know, it hasn't really done so throughout this season, but when it clicks, that's the goal that we see from them. But it's also kind of a gut punch for DC too, because you're just hoping, you know, you haven't played your best, but you can head to halftime with just a 1-goal deficit. And next thing you know, you're down 2-0, and it seems like all hope was lost. And it feels like that was the case in the second half, just 5 minutes in, because Nashville would score again, as Hani Mukhtar would get on the score sheet from Randall Leao to give Nashville a 3-0 lead. Now, albeit that was kind of unlucky in DC perspective because it kind of took a deflection off it, but still, that again comes from the transitional attack, and DC just have no answer for that transitional attack that Nashville put throughout this entire part of the game. Bro, it's just too easy for Nashville to cut this DC team on the attack and through the transition. Smith then tried to do a little short cross in the 54th minute, but it was tipped over by Willis. But then in the 59th minute, DC would get one back, and it's Taxi Funtas scoring from Roberta and Estrada to give DC some life in this one. And they kind of started to press to trying to get a goal back and maybe have the momentum in their hand. But to Nashville credit, they ride out that storm, and they really took the control back in this game in the latter part. I mean, the crowd was definitely into it when DC got one back, but Nashville really kind of took that crowd out of it with the way that they ride out that storm and once again dictate the play. Now, Hindsight did have an opportunity in the 85th minute, but he hits one straight to Willis in the 85th minute before in the 89th minute, Estrada hits it over the bar from a ball that was coming into the box. And yeah, in the end, Nashville with a big bounce back win in this one, winning 3-1 against DC, and now they have won the most game on the road this season with 6, which shouldn't be a big surprise because we know that with the way that Nashville play, this is a team that fits well when the playing style that they had under Gary Smith fits perfectly well for a team that plays on the road. But shots in this one, 9 shots for the 8 that DC had, 5 shots on goal for the 3 that DC had, 4 shots off target for the 2 that two that Nashville has, 2 shots that was blocked for the 1 that DC had, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 42% possession that Nashville has in this game. And for Nashville, they can just figure out how to, of course, play at home. And there's no doubt that when they're playing at home, this is probably not the style that they want to play, because we know that a lot of teams started to figure out how to play against Nashville, and that you just give them possession and see if they can break you down. And more times or not, that just have not been the case. But this is all what DC play, and the way that Chad Ashton set up DC to play against Nashville is the exact wrong way to play them. You do not want to give them transitional attack time and time again, and that's what DC did in this one, and they pay the price by dropping all 3 points at home once again. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is Montreal and Charlotte FC. So there was no doubt that this game, Montreal was the heavy favorites, and they were going to get all 3 points, which they did in the end. But you got to give credit to Charlotte. Even in the losing effort, they were very shorthanded coming into this game. In fact, it's not just 10 players for Charlotte that is on health and safety protocol, but I think there was like more than 10 players, and one of those was Kalina, their starting goalkeeper in this game. So step in George Marks in terms of getting his first start, which I'm kind of surprised that George Marks gets the start over Pablo Cesiaga. Remember Pablo Cesiaga, a guy that Charlotte basically took, and that the whole point of Cesiaga decided to go to Charlotte was to get some game time. Yeah, he has not get any game time for Charlotte FC recently, and you just wonder what is going on with that situation. Because while I know George Marks is considered highly when they drafted him in the Super Draft this season, I would have thought that Cesiaga would have stepped in for Kalina in this game instead of George Marks. But he was tested right away in the 2nd minute as Torres put a one-hopper right to Marks, as Montreal was trying to test the inexperienced goalkeeper, and a goalkeeper that is making his first ever career MLS start. And then in the 6th minute, Montreal would actually take the lead. It's Kyoto scoring from Brogiat here to give Montreal a 1-0 lead. The lead didn't last long though, because just 3 minutes later, Corujo would score his first ever goal for Charlotte FC, and I think his first ever goal in MLS here to tie the game up at 1 apiece. And again, Charlotte in this game, they were fighting hard throughout this game. Like they were a team that was making Montreal earn this win, and that they show some good response to come back very quickly to tie this game up at 1 apiece. Piet then puts it high over the bar in the 14th minute as Montreal was trying to push to try to take the lead back, and Charlotte, they just go into a defensive shape. I mean, that was kind of what we expected for Charlotte coming into this game, where you knew that they was just going to try to park the bus and hope to manage a 0-0 draw out of this one, or in this case, maybe just a 1-1 draw out of this one. But for most part of this game, I thought they done a good job in terms of limiting those chances. Like, Montreal is a team that at times we have seen them struggle in terms of breaking team down, and also it's not hard to mention the fact that they also have not have Georgi Mihailovic in these last couple of games, and I think they dearly miss him with the creativity that he provides to the Charlotte FC team. The shots were only 3-1 in favor of Montreal just 30 minutes into the game. In fact, we do head to halftime with the score tied up at 1 apiece, but in the second half, Montreal would quickly take the lead again, as Schreiner would score from Kyoto to make it 2-1 in favor of Montreal. Now, this was a bit controversial because they did go to VAR to see whether or not did Wanyama was in an offside position, and when that shot was coming in, it was toward his direction. So there's a question whether or not if he was in an offside position, where we said it before, even if you're not you did not touch the ball, if you're in the line of the shot and you're in an offside position, yeah, that goal is going to be disallowed. Or in the other case, you wonder, did Wanyama kind of obstruct the view of marks there enough where you could say that goal was called back? And the answer, according to VAR, is no. They said that goal, of course, was good, which again, I think when I look back at it, I don't think there was really enough obstruction where I can say that goal should be called back because of it. But also looking at the offside, I mean, it was very close. Like, I think it's too close to have any clear and obvious kind of decision to overturn that. So yeah, in the end, they do a good job in terms of keeping the original call. I mean, that's also something that I was kind of concerned with VAR, with the way that how it's been very inconsistent. But there's also time when it's used in this play, you just kind of had a feeling the goal was going to be chopped off. But no, in this case, the goal stands and Montreal takes a 2-1 lead, and they immediately dictate the play. And Charlotte was kind of once again on its heels a little bit. I mean, in some way they know that they might not have the attack to do so, but you also kind of sense that maybe they were trying to bunker a little bit so that they can get into the last 10 minutes where they're going to kind of push to try to maybe get that second goal and kind of have that nothing to lose mentality. In the 70th minute, Wanyama did try to go for a third goal, but it just curled wide before Mason Toye missed a free header from close range. So Mason Toye coming back from the first time this season for Montreal, and yeah, that is definitely a miss that he would love to have back, because he was wide open from close range. And I think maybe a healthy Mason Toye, or a Mason Toye that is back to his fitness, would definitely put that one into the back of the net. But as the time winds down, this game is still at 2-1, and you're just thinking, well, yes, it's 2-1, but, Charlotte, I think they're going to maybe start pushing and trying to get that opportunity. And they did get that opportunity in the 82nd minute as Świderski hits it straight to Breza, but Breza kind of spilled it as he makes that save, and then there was kind of a scramble where Świderski got a second attempt, and he blasts that one high. And that Świderski would not want to look back at that, because that was as bad of a miss as what we see from Kyoto from last season, when he missed like from one yards out. And again, that was a chance for Charlotte to steal a point out of this game, despite being very short-handed. And in the end, unfortunately, with them not able to put that one away, Montreal was able to hang on to win 2-1 against Charlotte, because Charlotte didn't really create another good opportunity and really didn't push Montreal that hard late in the game. But yeah, the shots in this one, 8 shots compared to just 4 that Charlotte has, 2 shots on goal compared to 3 that Montreal has, 2 shots off target compared to 4 that Montreal has, 1 shot that was blocked compared to none that Charlotte has, and possession-wise, 49% possession compared to 51% possession that Charlotte has in this game. And like I said, there's no shame for Charlotte losing this one, because anytime when you're that short-handed coming into this game, yeah, it's pretty clear that they almost had no chance in this one. But the fact that they really make Montreal work hard to get all 3 points, I think they should be proud of that result. But, for Montreal, yes, they'll take the 3 points, but yeah, they desperately miss Georgi Mihailovic, and they hope that he gets back into this 11 as soon as possible, because it just feels like there's a lack of creativity from this Montreal team ever since he went out with the foot injury a couple of games ago. But that being said, moving on into the next game, we got Toronto versus Atlanta, which was also a 2-1 win in favor of the host. But unlike this game, game where, for most part, we knew that Montreal was going to get the win and they had most of the possession. This was really kind of a game where it was anybody's game. Like, this game could have ended differently because of how even and how both teams had some good opportunity to do so, which is why at the end of this one, Atlanta is going to be very frustrated at the fact that, they play relatively well in this game, but Toronto was just a little bit better in terms of finishing in this one to get the 2-1 win. Now, in the first half, and before this game started, it was announced that Brooks Lennon was injured in the game warm-up, and that he basically had to be helped off when he injured his knee, which when that happened, that's not a good sign. And I think that also just kind of sums up Atlanta's season, because this is literally the most cursed team this season with the amount of injuries that they've been having every single week, and now this is just kind of add more insult to injury with the way how this season has gone through, and also no pun intended in terms of saying that. So with Brooks Lennon, of course, being injured, in comes Aiden McFadden, getting his first ever start for Atlanta United, and he actually almost made an instant impact just 3 minutes in as he hits it high from the back post. I mean, imagine if he scored that there. What a dream debut that would be for the youngster there. But instead, it was Toronto that gets the opening goal, and it's Osorio scoring from Nelson to give Toronto a 1-0 lead, because Jonathan Osorio, of course, is going to get a goal for TFC. Like, he's been just Mr. TFC for this team, and have been able to score goals even during the tough time this team has gone through this season. Though on the other end, Moreno trying to respond quickly for Atlanta, but he blasts that one high from long range, and even though he didn't put that one on target and it missed way wide, that's not good for TFC in terms of their defense. Like, you cannot allow Marcelo Moreno, who we know that he can hit that from long range with that much space to work with. And they got away with that one in the 14th minute. There was then a shout for a penalty for TFC that was not given in the 24th minute. Again, I thought it was an even first half so far, with chances for both sides, and that continued in the 33rd minute as Rio Novos would deny Jimenez from close range, and then Nelson had a shot that was crucially blocked away from Franco, and then on the other end, Martinez puts it wide from close range in the 40th minute, and Atlanta was kind of trying to press to get one back, but anytime when Atlanta looked like they got the momentum, TFC had an opportunity to score on the other end, and right on the stroke of halftime, Pozuelo hits one into the side netting, and in a very even first half, TFC has a 1-0 lead heading into the second half. Now in the second half, Jimenez heads it wide from close range in the 48th minute before he hit a shot from 19 yards out. I mean, Jimenez has really struggled for TFC in the last couple of games. Remember how I said he's been kind of a very underrated striker in the league, with him just kind of scoring every single game and guaranteeing a goal, and I don't feel like he's getting enough appreciation? Well, unfortunately now he feels like he's going through that classic goal drought that a striker could never want to be in, and that it's no surprise the fact that his confidence is starting to kind of become low with the way that he hasn't scored a goal in a very, very long time. And as a striker, that's just when you really need to dig deep in terms of trying to get that goal to snap out of the funk. But then in the 57th minute, Atlanta would tie the game up, and it's Araujo scoring from Ibarra to tie the game up at 1 apiece, and that was pretty bad defending from TFC. Like, that was typical TFC defending from this season, with the way that Araujo basically just drive through that TFC defense with ease and puts it into the back of the net. And I mean, this is why TFC really need to think about reinvest on the defense. And I know that they are going to get some reinforcement in the defense in Domenico Cristo that they're going to bring in July alongside with Lorenzo Insigne, but they definitely need more help on that, especially with the way that, again, this was a game where there's time where this TFC defense was just absolutely lackluster in this one. Araujo then tried for a second goal, but he missed wide in the 61st minute, before on the other end, Aquino had a shot that was deflected wide. Once again, this game started to be very even, and it feels like this could be a game that not only could be up for grabs, but also a game that is on a knife edge right now, with the way that whoever scored the second goal might have a chance to get the win. Jimenez tried to do so, but he heads it wide from from the corner before Schaffelberg actually got one-on-one with the keeper, but he puts it into the side netting. Rios Novos then denied Kerr from close range, but then in the 79th minute, Ralph Priso would score his first goal of the season. I think his third goal in his career to give TFC the lead back, and they had an opportunity to kill this game off in the second minute of stoppage time as Kerr tried to ice it from close range, but he missed that one wide. And yeah, in the end, it finished 2-1 in favor of TFC. And unsurprisingly, when you look at the shots, I talk about how this game was even. That was the same case with the shots. Dead even at 15 apiece. 4 shots on goal for the 2 that Atlanta has. Both teams had 7 shots off targets. 4 shots that was blocked for the 6 that Atlanta has. And possession-wise, 56% possession compared to 44% possession that TFC has in this game. And yeah, huge win for TFC, which is in a situation where they need to start to maybe get some wins to believe that they're not out of it. I mean, as I mentioned, in terms of looking at the Eastern Conference table a couple of days ago, there's still a lot of chance for all these teams that is near the bottom to get themselves back in the race, because right now the team that is just above the red line, they're not only they play the most game, but they also haven't been in the best of form. And yeah, we'll see whether or not if TFC can continue that charge. But for Atlanta United, this was a tough one, and they play well enough to deserve a point out of this game, but ultimately the finishing kind of let them down in this one, and they walk away with this game with nothing out of this one. But that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the next 4 games that happened in terms of the busy Saturday action in match week number 16 of the MLS 2022 regular season. So moving on, in terms of the next game, is the Houston Dynamo versus the Chicago Fire, and this felt like a very Chicago Fire road game from last season, where how last season for the Fire, when they play on the road, there's time where they play well on the road, but why they always tend to lose those games when they play well? They couldn't finish, and also make some boneheaded play on the defensive end or give up goals against the run of play. And lo and behold, in this game, guess what caused the Fire to lose in this one? They had a lot of opportunity, but they missed it. And the Dynamo was just a more clinical in this one, and they grabbed a 2-0 win out of this game. Now, early on, Mueller had a free header, but missed that one high in just the second minute of the game. That would kind of foreshadow the night that the Chicago Fire would have in terms of the finishing department, before Ivanov drives it just wide in the 8th minute. The Fire, of course, were off to the better start and looks to press for a winner. Well, actually, I think that was a little bit ambitious of why I wrote press for a winner there, because, it's only first couple of minutes. I probably should have wrote they were pressing for a go-ahead goal. Though Parker did have the Dynamo first opportunity as he hits that one wide from 12 yards out, though it was kind of like a wild header, and he missed that one way wide there. But then on the other end, Shabilko missed a tap-in from close range, because, of course, Casper Shabilko would miss a tap in from close range. Like that's kind of the thing that Union fans are probably warning Fire fans ahead of time when they sign Shabilko. Where at times maybe it's a decent signing because Shabilko has been a double-digit goal scorer for the Union for the past couple of years. He's also had these kind of moments where just a simple tap in, and when you're a number 9, you just got to finish those. But Shabilko at times missed those tap in, and it maybe take like 1 or 2 chances before he kind of gets this one right. Though Shabilko did have another opportunity in the 18th minute, but he was denied by Clark. The shot were 6-3 in favor of Chicago, but when you look at the amount of chances, it was by far in favor of the Fire. And then in the 23rd minute, the Dynamos would score against the run of play, and it's Offerson that scores to give the Dynamo a 1-0 lead. I think this actually come off of a deflection, but nevertheless, the Houston Dynamo, despite being kind of outplayed in the first 23 minutes, score against the run of play, and I feel like that's just kind of a classic example of what happened when you don't take your opportunity, and that, when you don't take your opportunity and you even let your opposition have one good look, yeah, that, of course, would happen. Though in the 32nd minute, it was almost 2-0 in favor of the Dynamo as Sebastian Ferreira would score here, but his goal was disallowed for offside. Won't be the only time that of course, would happen. Before in the 44th minute, Gutierrez heads it straight to Clark, but then in the second minute of stoppage time, Quintero would score from Lundqvist to give the Dynamo a 2-0 lead, and despite, again, the Fire, for the most part, had more of the opportunity, and the Dynamo didn't really have a lot of opportunity in this first half, They lead to 2-0, and I just already instantly thinking that, yeah, this is going to be one of those games for the Chicago Fire where they're not going to score any goal, and they're going to end up losing 2-0 because of bad finishing and also just lack of daisy play in terms of the defensive end. Now, in the second half, it looked like it was 3-0 in favor of the Dynamo when Seba Ferreira would score again, but once again, this time, this goal was disallowed for offside, though this time they did go to VAR to check to see whether or not if that is the case, and indeed, it was the case, as Ferreira was just a step offside on the VAR look. Herbert then heads a weak shot straight to Clark, and then Sekulic heads it high from close range in the 69th minute, and I mean, it's just not going to happen for the Fire again in this one. And I think that play from Sekulic where he missed it from close range, that kind of just sums up the Fire in this one, where it looked like they came close and it looked like they finally had that breakthrough, and then they messed it up because of poor finishing. Duran then puts it wide from close range in the 72nd minute before Carrasquilla trying to score that third goal for Houston, but he blasted wide from long range. I mean, it was not a bad effort from Coco Carrasquilla, who we know that he can definitely score those long range shots. Turan then had a header that was clear off the line by Lundqvist because, of course, that won't go in because of the luck that the Fire has had in this one. And then on the other end, Slolina did deny Olferson from close range in the 85th minute, and in the end, the Dynamo with a 2-0 win over the Fire, as the shots in this one, 17 shots compared to 11 that Houston has, 4 shots on goal compared to 5 that Houston has, 4 shots off target compared to 9 that the Fire has, 4 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that the Dynamo has, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that the Chicago Fire has in this game. And yeah, like I said, it feels like it's Groundhog Day once again for the Chicago Fire, because you would think that, you know, a new era that they're kicking in this season with a new head coach and a new squad would kind of erase kind of bad habits, and yeah, it feels like in this game it's back, and this is definitely not good news if you're a Fire fan who, you know, they're hoping that they can get themselves out of this dud that they're in, and they're unfortunately going to be staying in that. I think they're still in the bottom of the Eastern Conference. Well, they are going to be in the bottom of the Eastern Conference, with them dropping off 3 points and staying, I think, at 16 points so far in the East. But now, moving on, in terms of the next match, is Minnesota and Inter Miami, and honestly, I'm not even that disappointed in terms of how this game turns out. Well, I was a little disappointed, but man, I saw how this game would play out, and, you know, I was hoping that I was being proved wrong by the Loons, that maybe for once they can hold the lead and hope that Adrian Heath decided not to go full road Heath mode. But guess what happened? Full road Heath mode happened in the last 15 minutes, and to no one's surprise, it did not work, and it backfired big time once again, and Miami was able to overcome a 1-0 deficit to win 2-1 in this one. Now, early on, Taylor did hit it wide from close range 1 minute into this game, as I thought there was not much happening in this game, at least in the first 15 minutes, as there was only 1 shot apiece for both teams. In fact, the entire first half was relatively boring, though Lud did blast it high from close range in the 17th minute. I mean, that was classic Robin Lud, where we know Lud is really kind of the only guy that I can trust in terms of scoring goals. But there's also times where Lud is only allowed to score 1 goal in a game, and then there's other time where he had some good opportunity and he just basically blasted it into Rosette. But the Loons, of course, started to kind of gain a foothold into this game, as I thought early on Miami had all the possession, and I was just kind of worried, is Rohit Mo going to start from minute 1, where they're just going to bunker for the whole game and just hope to get out a 0-0 draw? Because if that is going to be the case, you know, a lot of Loons fans are not going to be happy about that. I mean, a lot of Loons fans are already upset about what happened in just a couple of days with Adrian Heath getting a 2-year contract extension with this team, but that would just be the icing on the case of the frustration that a lot of Loons fans had with this team, where, you know, for Adrian Heath, you know, his team always tends to just kind of bunker throughout the whole game and hope to get a result, or when the team go up 1-0, they just bunker and hope for the best to get all 3 points out of the game. Now, I also so kind of wrote that, you know, despite they kind of gained a foothold in the game, the story of the season kind of continued, where the attack was slow, methodical, and predictable, but that kind of is the same case for Miami. I mean, their final third looked very slow, and look very easy to deal with by this Loons defense, though they did have a big opportunity in the 33rd minute as Dane Sinclair absolutely robbed Campana from point blank. Like 9 out of 10 times, Leo Campana would put that one into the back net, but Dane Sinclair, for probably the 1,000th time, saving the Loons in this one from going down 1-0 in the first half. Then Rosales fired one wide from long range, and despite the fact that I wrote that actually came pretty close. Like he really took a rip from 40 yards out and just missed that one wide. But we do head to halftime with a predictable score of 0-0 after just a relatively boring first half. That was not the case in the second half, because in the second half, I thought there was a couple of half chances for both teams, but still none really kind of trouble both goalkeeper. Almeria basically had a tap in the back post, but he whiffs it because, of course, he whiffs it. I mean, Almeria just have no confidence in right now, and that was probably the most predictable result I would see from him. On the other end, Dane Sinclair would deny Lassiter on the right before McVeigh had a wide open shot from 10 yards out, but it's his turn to kind of do his best Luis Almeria impression and whiffs that shot from 10 yards out. But then in the 66th minute, to my biggest surprise, Almeria gets on the score sheet. And honestly, I feel like he doesn't deserve this goal, and this goal probably should have been deserved to Robin Lod, because I thought for sure Lod actually scored this one, but in the end they kind of give Almeria the credit. I think he kind of last touched that one. I mean, I feel like it was both Almeria and Lod kind of hits it at the same time, and I think the scorekeeper just kind of want to give Almeria credit with how he's been struggling so much, so they gave him the credit of the goal. And it was also kind of a scrappy goal too. I mean, it was just a poor defensive play from Miami to keep that one dangling in the box. And when you don't clear the ball away and you keep that ball in your own box, you're asking to basically get punished, and that was exactly the case. So yeah, Minnesota were up 1-0, but I didn't celebrate when that goal went in, because I just have a feeling that this means that Adrian Heath is going to do rogue Heath mode. And after when Campana fires one high in the 69th minute, I immediately wrote, please don't go rogue Heath mode. And unfortunately, it seems like Adrian Heath didn't see this message, because literally after I wrote that, he decided to go 5 at the back and decided to bring defensive substitution. And as soon as that happened, I knew we were gonna lose this game. Because after Huane blasted into the stands in the 75th minute, in the 88th minute, Miami would tie the game up at 1 apiece, and it's Indy Vasilev scoring from Duke to tie the game up at 1 apiece. I mean, Indiana Vasilev is literally like the closer for Inter Miami, with so many big goals scored late in the game, and he did it again in this one. And not only the fact that he did it again, he would do it again just 2 minutes later, as he would score in the 90th minute to give Inter Miami a 2-1 lead. And I immediately wrote, well, it was a great goal from him, but it was predictable from the Loons. Like, I knew this was going to happen, where, I was hoping maybe with them giving up that tying goal was disappointing enough, but I just had a feeling that to go full Minnesota, they have to give up another goal, and that this is the second consecutive road game where they were up 1-0 and looked like they could get all 3 points, and then they basically throw it away because Adrian Heath decided to think rogue Heath mode and just kind of bunker for the entire game, and giving the opposition 100% of the ball is going to be a formula to win games on the road. And yeah, I mean, this is why a lot of Loons fans are frustrated, and also why I've heard a lot of people have already dropped out in terms of renewing their season ticket, because there's really nothing I can say about this team that it is positive right now. And what's also kind of interesting is that, and I think this is going to be something that I mentioned for the very first time, but I'm actually going to go to watch this team play against the Galaxy on Wednesday down in LA. And honestly, after watching these last 2 games, where I feel like right now, this team has already hit rock bottom a couple of weeks ago, but they're now in bedrock level. And the fact that I'm going to be going there to watch the game down in Carson to watch them play the Galaxy on the road, I mean, my expectation is going to be at the lowest. And I wouldn't even, like, if they lose that game again, I wouldn't be even mad whatsoever, because, yeah, I mean, these are just kind of the resort that this team has had. And this is also why, a lot of people have want Adrian Heath to be fired, and that, I think we are definitely heading to that point. Yes, I know he received that 2-year contract extension, but that doesn't mean that this team can fire him. And we've seen where teams offer coaches their a contract extension but if the performance is not made, they can definitely end up on the hot seat. And I think Adrian Heath is pretty much on the hot seat, and probably the hottest seat right now in MLS, because there is no way in the world that when you look at this team and with the talent that they had, this team should not be 12th in the Western Conference right now. And that, last season I mentioned how with the way that they underachieve, I was hoping maybe this next year they can get themselves bounce back, and that maybe they won't underachieve it as much as they did last year. Oh boy, I was completely wrong. And in fact, I feel like this is even worse in terms of the amount of underachieving that is going on. And I know part of that has to be blamed on the players, which, a lot of these players definitely need to have a hard look of themselves. But you also have to question the manager, and especially, again, the road Heath mode that Adrian Heath decided to do throughout all these road games for the past couple of years that Minnesota has is just absolutely criminal. And I can't tell you how many times this just blow up in Adrian Heath's face. But yet he basically is doing the definition of insanity, and similar to what I'm about to do watching this team play on Wednesday against the Galaxy in person. And yeah, I just don't know when is he going to realize that it just does not work, and when maybe the front office realize that it's time to pull the plug. Like, I don't think he is the answer in terms of trying to get this team back to where they were a couple of years ago. But either way, the shots in this one, 16 shots compared to the 10 that Minnesota has, 8 shots on goal compared to the 1 that Minnesota has, 6 shots off target compared to the 5 that Minnesota has, 4 shots that was blocked compared to the 2 that Miami has, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to the 45% possession that Minnesota has in this game. And for Miami, for a long time they looked like they were dead in the water, but you got to credit them. They fought. They were able to come back into this one. But again, I feel like a lot of that has to do with the fact that road Heath mode happened. And when road Heath mode happened, I would just want to say congratulations, opposition. You basically just receive all 3 points because of the fact that Adrian Heath doesn't realize that road Heath mode does not work whatsoever. But that being said, moving on in terms of the next game, let's just move away from the dark cloud that is going on with Minnesota, to talk about probably the most entertaining game in terms of the Saturday action between Austin FC versus FC Dallas. And this is a game that coming into this one, certainly one of the more anticipated Copa Tejas match, probably right up there in terms of last year, where it was kind of almost like a Copa Tejas final when Austin played against Dallas, where the winner of that game was going to win the Copa Tejas. But in the end, it ended in a 2-2 draw between both of these teams, and it turns out that one of the goals that was scored, and also the assist that was made by one of these goals, come from former Quakes player. But in the first half, just 9 minutes in, Jerussi tried to redirect a header, but he hits it straight to Martin Paz. I mean, not a bad effort for Jerussi trying to redirect that one. I mean, there's always the dangers of trying to redirect a ball that has already been shot in because, you could be in an offside position, but, Jerussi wasn't in that one, and yeah, unfortunately, he just could not quite put that one away. I thought Austin was on the front foot early in this game, but for the most part, I thought that Dallas did a good job in terms of limiting the chances that Austin had. In fact, they had an opportunity in the 12th minute as Paxton Palmico actually went through on goal, but he missed that one wide, and that's definitely one that Palmico would love to have back because, yeah, when you go through on goal like that, you have to put that one on target. Ruti then fired one wide from long range in the 17th minute, so Ruti tried to do his trademark golazo, didn't work out this time. Before on the other end, Stuver was able to deny Arriola in the near post, and again, this game was very similar to the TFC versus Atlanta game. Chances were coming in for both, and both teams were looking to try to get the opening goal, but ultimately we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams, though the second half is where the action began, and the second half is also where this game really turned into peak MLS After Dark mode, because 51 minutes into this game, Velasco puts one over the bar from close range, but then just 7 minutes later, Arriola would get the opening goal for FC Dallas to give them a 1-0 lead, and not long after, Cervania would score the second goal to give Dallas a 2-0 lead, and that was just shocking defending from Austin, and especially in the part of Julio Cascante, where, you know, I don't know if he was trying to clear the ball away, but that one just kind of bounced back toward his feet and kind of just redirect in the path of Cervania, who just said, oh, thank you very much. I'm just going to tuck this one into the back of the net. And yeah, just like that, Dallas were up 2-0, and there was no doubt that Q2 Stadium was once again very quiet. And that I mentioned before, Dallas, they seems to have Los Verdes number with the way that they swept the series against Los Verdes last year. But to the credit of Austin, they didn't give up because in the 72nd minute, Jerussi would score from Gite to give life to the Austin crowd, and that all of a sudden that Q2 crowd was rocking again. Cascante then heads it straight to pass in the 74th minute before Gite with a volley from close range in the 75th minute, and that's kind of the criticism about Musa Gite in his life with Austin FC, where, you know, he's a guy that has a lot of speed and can get into good position, but when it comes to that clinical finishing and that final part of the game, he needs to continue to develop that. But the momentum was clearly with Austin, but as soon as I wrote that, there was a hydration break in this one, and you just kind of feel like that hydration break maybe could disturb it, and for Dallas, that was exactly what what they needed, with the way that not only they needed a drink of water, but they were just on its heels with the way that Austin was pushing in this one. But to the credit of Austin, you know, they continue to push for the equalizer. Cascante blasted high from long range before Jerussi trying to hit it from the free kick, but he missed that one wide in the 83rd minute. But then in the 85th minute, Austin got their deserved equalizer, and as I mentioned, you know, there was a former Quakes goal scored and a former Quakes player that was in the assist chart, and that's exactly what happened in this one. Danny Houston scoring from Lima to tie the game up at 12 apiece. So you're welcome, Austin, in terms of us giving you two of those players, and that I think during the time when the Quakes were still having Danny Houston and Lima, I think both of them were there was one time when Houston, of course, scoring to come off of a Lima assist, and yeah, here we go again with the way that two former Quakes player, of course, getting into it. Like, I always love to see former Quakes players score, even if it kind of hurts a little bit, because, you know, they could have still had them if they decide not to let them go. But when they get on the score sheet, but also on the assist chart, it definitely makes it a little bit sweeter. And yeah, great to see both of them contribute. What was the tying goal in this one? But you know that Austin was not done yet. They were looking to trying to get that third goal, though. So does FC Dallas, because Hara actually puts it high in the near post in the 89th minute after Austin once again got caught out in their defense. Like, that's been the Achilles heel for Los Verdes this season. They have had times where their defense has been shambolic, and it was once again the case in this one. Though on the other end, Houston trying to score the winning goal for Austin, but he hits that one straight to pass. And then on the other end, Hara puts it wide as he went through on goal, and all of a sudden, this game not only was up for grabs, but we have reached peak MLS After Dark moment. I mean, you can say that with the way that this game was already approaching 11 o'clock East Coast time and around 10 o'clock local time. So yeah, it was MLS After Dark. It was craziness that was happening in this one. And then in the 5th minute of stoppage time, Finley had an opportunity to give the winner for Austin late, but he blasted high on the back post, and he had a good look at that one. Like, he was left wide open in the back post, and you know that he definitely, not only he wants that one back, but he definitely does not want to look at that one back as an opportunity to give Los Verdes all 3 points in their first victory against FC Dallas. But what did happen in this game is the first ever draw between FC Dallas and Austin FC in this Copa Tejas, as in the end, it ends in a 2-2 draw. And the shots in this one, 18 shots for the 12 that Dallas had, 4 shots on goal for the 6 that Dallas had, 8 shots off target for the 5 that Dallas had, 6 shots that was blocked for the 1 that Dallas had, and possession-wise, 63% possession compared to 37% possession that FC Dallas had in this game. And yeah, like I said, you know, this was a very entertaining game, and I think overall the result is fair with the way that both of these teams had some good opportunity, but none of them were able to get that crucial third goal to win this Copa Tejas matchup. And there's no doubt that I can't wait until both of these teams meet each other, because it feels like, at least in these last couple of games, both of these teams have played in some very entertaining Copa Tejas match. But that being said, moving on into the next game is the only no draw that happened in the Saturday action. And I'll tell you what, it's been a while since I've seen an MLS game ended 0-0 because, last week I talked about how there was a lot of low scoring game, but despite the fact that all the games were low scoring, there was no 0-0 draw, but we finally saw one in this one between RSL versus Columbus, and you gotta give credit to the crew. Like, they really play a great role game in this one, and they really kind of shut down RSL throughout part of this game. But this was also a combination of RSL just kind of run out of luck in terms of their finishing, and also not to mention they do miss Bobby Wood, which I'll talk about in the news of the week in a couple of days, that there is some bad news in terms of Bobby Wood availability for this RSL team. But 9 minutes into this game, Rubin came probably the closest in terms of scoring a goal in this one for both teams as he struck the post after he went through on goal. Not much happening though in the early bit, as it turns out that actually was the only shot through 19 minutes into this one. Glad then heads one into the side netting before Santos actually tried to chip it over McNabb, and he almost scored what would be a candidate of not only the goal of the week but probably the goal of the year, with him just kind of chipping that from 40 yards out. But that one struck the post. Ruiz then fired it wide from long range in the 42nd minute as we head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. And the second half, once again, not much happening coming out of the gate, as it feels like both teams was trying to fuel each other again. Kimmey then hits it wide on a diving header before Room denied Miram from close range. Room then denied Cordova in the 68th minute, as I thought RSL was started to gain some traction in this one, but again, the lack of finishing is a problem for them in this game, and you wonder whether or not if they can just find that one goal to finally break open this Columbus defense. Well, spoiler alert, it did not happen, because in the 80th minute, Cordova would miss another opportunity, and he missed it wide from 8 yards out before Savarino tried to score a golazo from long range. I mean, we know that Jefferson Savarino can do so, but not this time. He missed that one wide from long range, and yeah, in the end, it ends scoreless between both of these teams. And the shots in this one, 11 shots for the 6 that Columbus had, 4 shots on goal for the 2 that Columbus had, 6 shots off target for the 3 that Columbus had. Both teams had 1 shot that was blocked, and possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that the crew has in this game. And yeah, overall, a relatively frustrating night for RSL. We know that they've been very good at home this season, and this is definitely going to be one that, if they do make it to the playoffs, which as of now it seems like that is going to be the case, and in fact they're really competing for some of the top 3 spot in the West, and maybe even home field advantage. But in case if they do fall out of that home field advantage spot, this is definitely one of the games they'll look back as a big missed opportunity to get another 3 point against a relatively weak team out of the Eastern Conference, that is the Columbus Crew. But that being said, I am now going to switchboard one more time to look at the last game of the Saturday night action, which is the Portland Timbers versus the Colorado Rapids. So moving on into the last game of the Saturday action is the Portland Timbers and the Colorado Rapids, and this game kind of had a shade of the 7-2 win that the Timbers had against Sporting KC, where for the majority of the first half it was relatively even, but then in the second half the Timbers basically put it into first gear and just run away with this game against the Colorado Rapids. Now, early on in the first half, Yarbrough would deny Jimmy Char from close range before Blanco puts it wide in the front post. As I thought the Timbers were on the front foot in this one, and they were looking for the opener. Blanco puts it wide for the right side before Tuiluma hits it high over the bar in the 31st minute. But then Barrios hits one into the side netting, and then Ivic had to make a save to deny Lewis in the 37th minute. And, despite the fact that the Rapids were kind of outplayed for the first 25 minutes of the game, they woke up, and it looked like they were looking to try to get the early lead in this one. But then, in the second minute of stoppage time, a penalty was given to the Timbers after VAR deemed that Yarbrough brought down Moreno inside the box. And yeah, this was an ugly scene where, not only Yarbrough brought down Moreno inside the box, but both Yarbrough and Moreno kind of had a nasty collision, and Moreno must have his knee must have caught Yarbrough there, because yeah, Yarbrough basically took a knee in the head while bringing down Moreno in the box, and you can see for I think about a couple of minutes, Yarbrough was not called, and that is definitely not a great sign to see. Not only in a game, but on in the soccer pitch itself, with the way that, yeah, you just hope that Yarbrough is okay. And even though I know Yarbrough wants to continue, and he definitely was trying to hold back tears when he had to be forced to subbed off. Now knowing the concussion protocol, and especially with the way the league has introduced the rule where you can sub off a player that clearly suffered a concussion, which that was clearly the case with Yarbrough. Like, you can clearly see he must have been concussed after suffering that knee to the head. Yeah, he had to be subbed off in this game. So in come 19-year-old Abraham Rodriguez into this game, and this actually was his debut for the Colorado Rapids, and that is probably the classic example of baptism by fire, because here you go, kid. Your first game in MLS, and you have to face a penalty against the opposition. And that penalty kick taker turns out to be one of the best penalty taker in the league in Sebastian Blanco, which, unsurprisingly, Blanco was able to put that one away to give the Timbers a 1-0 lead. But then in the 10 minutes of stoppage time, again, there was a lot of stoppage time because it took a while before Yarbrough had to be subbed off for Abraham Rodriguez. Though on the other end, Trusty had an opportunity to tie the game up on the stroke of halftime, but he heads that one wide. But we do head to halftime with the Timbers leading 1-0. Now in the second half, Jimmy Chara puts one straight to Rodriguez. I mean, I thought Abraham Rodriguez, I don't think I'm going to put this loss on him, because it's always tough for a guy that wasn't even expected to play in this one, and he thrust right into the action. But he had his first big test from open play, and he kind of passed it. Ivicic, though, on the other end, denied Rubio, and then on the second effort, he had to deny Barrios from tight angle. So, the Rapids, for the most part, they were still kind of in the game in the beginning of the second half. That's about to change, because in the 54th minute, Nishgoda would score from Tuiluma to give the Timbers a 2-0 lead. Not only was a great ball and great finishing from Nishgoda, great ball from Bill Tuiluma, puts it on the plate for Nishgoda, but also Nishgoda did a good job, chest that one down and go through on goal. But then there's also the question is, did he chest that one down with his hand? Because the way they looked, it kind of looked too good to be true that Nishgoda was able to bring that one down. So they go to VAR to check to see it is, and it turns out it was not the case. And I guess in the end, I think that's the right call, because, yes, on one angle, it kind of looked like maybe Nishgoda handled it, but, again, it has to be clear and obvious, and maybe VAR feel like it wasn't clear and obvious enough. I mean, I know Rapids fan will be not happy, because they will mention that one angle where it looked like Nishgoda did handle it, but again, even in that one angle, I can see that it is very close. And when it comes to close, and it comes to clear and obvious kind of call, that most of the time they will just withstand the call. Though, again, we've seen before where, clear and obvious could be a very vague kind of decision, and I think this is where the Rapids have the argument, the fact that, yeah, that's the problem with VAR use in this league, and the definition of clear and obvious, because it also depends on which VAR crew you get. I mean, I can definitely see on another day, a different VAR crew can definitely overturn that call. But nevertheless, that call stand, and the Timbers leads at 2-0. And not long after, Nishgoda would score his second goal of the game from Williamson to give the Timbers a 3-0 lead. By the way, the Timbers feed with Jake Zivins and Liam Richwell, they were very excited to when that third goal went in, because they know that here we go again. We're going to finally maybe see the curse finally end for the Timbers, where is this going to be the first ever time we're going to see a Timber player score a hat trick in a game. But I also thought that the floodgates were opening, and this could get ugly for Colorado, and the fact that, that vision of 7-2 that I mentioned before, the reason why the Timbers were able to score 7 goals in that game is because they scored 6 in the second half. Like, once one goes in, it just keep on pouring. And knowing the fact that the Rapids, one of the big problems that they had this season, besides struggling on the road, is that when they can see the first goal, yeah, and that they're probably going to lose this game, because I think coming into this game they're winless in terms of conceding the first goal. Though Estevez did try to make it interesting, but he blasted that one high from close range before Nishgoda actually go for a historic first ever Timbers hat trick in MLS, but he actually struck the post as the flag went up. Now, the flag did went up before that ball hits the post, because he was in an offside position, but imagine if the flag didn't went up. I mean, if that is the case, that pretty much is an example of why the curse exists for the Portland Timbers, where for whatever reason no Timbers player has ever scored a hat trick in in league play. I mean, we've seen them score a hat trick before outside of league play, but it's just kind of fascinating that this curse, of course, exists, and it kind of continued because Nishgoda would actually be subbed off later in this game. I think maybe Gio Savarese saw that, yeah, Nishgoda is getting too close in terms of breaking that curse. Let's just kind of sub him off to make sure that is not the case. I mean, you can maybe even say it's a curse, but also kind of is a tradition in the Portland Timbers history of they're just not allowed to have a player score a hat trick in a league game. But in the 73rd minute, the post would deny the Timbers again. This time it's Tuiluma on the free kick. Ivicic then denying Barrios. But the Rapids get a second attempt at this one because Ivicic kind of allowed a rebound, and Zardes had an empty net to shoot. And, you know, for Zardes, this is why he's probably not going to be in any conversation of being with the U.S. men's national team heading into the World Cup in Qatar in November, because, you know, this has been the problem for Zardes ever since he's really gone through probably the longest dry spell that he has ever gone through in his career, because this was an empty net. This is one that if a confident jersey Zardes, he will put away 9 out of 10 times, and yeah, this one, because he's not confident, it wasn't able to go in. Though it was some heroic defending from Tuiluma to block that one off the line. You got to say, for Zardes, he has to put that one away. Beitashour then fires at Wyatt in the 82nd minute, and I thought the Timbers, who they were definitely putting on the accelerator, even after when they went up 3-0, they kind of started to let off a little bit and put this one into cruise control, and in the end, gets an easy 3-0 win over the Colorado Rapids. As the shots in this one, 19 shot apiece for both of these teams, 7 shots on goal for the 5 that the Rapids had, 8 shots off target compared to 12 that the Rapids had, 4 shots that was blocked for the 2 that the Rapids had, and possession-wise, 54% possession compared to 46% possession that the Rapids has in this game. And yeah, this was exactly what the doctor ordered for the Portland Timbers. And I think they also mentioned the next 6 out of 9 games is going to be at Providence Park, and also one of those game away is the Cascadia Derby against the Seattle Sounders. So yeah, maybe this might be finally the moment for the Timbers to turn their season around. Though we said the same thing when they won 7-2, and yeah, it definitely did not turn their season around. So we'll see whether or not if they can start go on a streak. But for the Colorado Rapids, the road struggle and them conceding the first goal, and basically means that it's an automatic loss for this team, continue out of this one. But either way, hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, make sure to like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of this game and also the 8 other games that I mentioned earlier in this review. But until then, hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, make sure to like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.